Well, we did it again. Hello world, and we are back. My name's Kyle Fischl, and this is going to be episode 44 of my poker vlog. And I'm actually quite fortunate with the current health environment that is out there. I'm very fortunate to live in Orlando, as Orange City Racing and Card Club is quite literally the only casino that is still open in the entire United States. So, don't know how I binked the one outer on that one.
No.
We'll take it. I just wash my hands consistently because I don't want one of the...
Coming through, please. Stand clear the contaminated area. This is a 2319 in progress here.
Close one.
to happen. Anyway, so last Saturday I had a few interesting hands that I'd like to go over. For the first interesting hand, with two limpers to me, I'm in middle position with ace-10 offsuit. I make it $25 as the limpers makes me size up a bit. One late position player calls and the two limpers call. So we're going four ways to a flop, which comes ace-9-3 rainbow. So ace high, super dry unconnected board, very easy c-bet. When it checks to me, I make it $40. Late position player folds, one of the limpers calls, and the other limper folds. So now we're going heads up is another 9. Not a fantastic card, as he could have had a 9, just made trips, but also not a card I'm worried too much about. I think it's a card that I should be continuing a lot. All the small ace X's will continue and pay me off, but I think that inflating the size of the pot here is not a great move. The opponent, from just visual look, because I'm very new to the table, don't have really a read on him. He just looks very competent, very aggressive, and he just has that mannerism. He just looks like he knows what he's doing. And
so where's your man? Oh, there.
And board textures as we progress. So I'm not really trying to inflate a pot against this particular player. So I do a very pot controlling check on the turn. The river is a king. The king is actually a pretty good card for me, as ace-king was waiting the whole time. There's no other kings that really completes. Additionally, like if he had an ace-queen, ace-jack, now we're chopping, so that's good. On the turn, I told myself I would call any river bet, from the $80 to $100 range. And my opponent assembles $150 and puts it in there. Quite a bit more than I was anticipating.
I was not expecting that. But I was expecting not to expect something, so it doesn't count.
I really got the feeling that he was going to bluff at it, but he went big with it. I kind of told myself, I was going to call, any bluff on the river anyway, any card, when I chose to check the turn. So I do kind of a, here you go, call. He has 5 deuce. So happen to have one of the only drawing hands even possible on the flop. He chose to turn into a bluff, which did not work for him in that scenario. A little bit later, I have ace-king offsuit in middle position, 2 limpers to me, and I raise to $30. Size up, as this is stronger than ace-10. And well, we go 4 ways to a flop a second time, and this time the flop comes king-9-5, 2 clubs. Definitely a good board for me. Top pair, top kicker. I have a club blocker, so that's fantastic. With all that being said, I don't think I need to bet too much here, but I definitely want to build a pot with top pair, top kicker, and reevaluate later. So I bet $50, and one late position player calls, everyone else folds. Heads up to a turn card, which is a ace. I was actually planning on doing the exact same line with the last hand, just kind of pot controlling on the turn. But when I actually improved to 2 pair, and when I officially beat ace-9, 8-5, those are 2 hands that can pay off 2 streets pretty easily. Additionally, my specific opponent in this hand has called me down very light in the past. He's been on other videos where this person has the ability to call with as bad as 3rd pair, 2 triple barrels. I'm definitely not going to check back this turn against this opponent. I bet $100. My opponent thinks for a little bit and then calls. The river is actually a pretty bad one. The river is the 10 of clubs. Now that, jack queen gets there and clubs, it's not particularly a card that I recommend betting on. I recommend just maybe check calling against a bluff when your hand's too strong to fold. But against this specific player, who I've seen, be very, very light in the past, I think that I can get some value from this person. So I bet $175, and he gathers it immediately, grabs the chips, stacks them up, and I think he's going to call. And he goes back and forth. He thinks about it. He looks at his cards. He looks at the chips. He looks at me. And eventually he decides on a fold. So could not get him for that third barrel on that specific hand. Next interesting hand. This is a bit of time later. I've built my stack up pretty good. I'm very happy with the results that are going so far. Early position player makes it $20. There are 3 callers and I'm on the button with King Jack offsuit. Definitely a hand I'm going to play in position on the button multi-way. I usually navigate multi-way pretty well.
Confidence. A fool's substitute for intelligence.
So we're going to call, thinking that we're likely to close the action as we don't expect the blinds to raise that often. Well, both blinds do fold, and we're going 5 ways to a flop, which is Jack 9-6. Now, the pre-flop aggressor raises to 40. It folds to me, and I'm last to act. This specific player, in the last lap or two, called all in, faced a full house, got stacked, he rebought, lost a little bit. He looks like he's tilting. He's had some pretty bad luck, so I don't really expect him to have a hand all that often here. So with that being said, I think I can protect my jack against hands like Queen 10, 10, 8, possibly Ace King, Ace Queen. I think there's plenty of hands that I need protection from that have plenty of equity but not actually there yet. So I raise to $100. He thinks for a little bit and then calls. The turn is a second 9. When he checks to me, I think this is a card I should continue on because I could have a 9 here. If he had a hand like Ace Jack, I need it to fold and I could rep 3 9s, maybe even Jack 9. There are some hands I could rep that could get big hands to fold on this card, and I don't particularly think he ever has one. So I bet $175, planning to just check any river if he calls, as I'm probably not good anymore. Well, he chooses to go all in for $340 total. With the exact odds I'm getting, 5 outs at the most, maybe even 3 if he has exactly Ace Jack. But for the exact price I'm getting and the fact that there are still some draws out there, I think this is a pretty standard call. So I call, he shows pocket kings. Yikes, that's very, very few outs.
That's not good.
River's an ace, which I wish I had Ace Jack because I would have binged him, but that one goes to the opponent. So next interesting hand. I am button straddling as up a little bit as I bought him for 800 and I have 900, so trying to get something to happen towards the end of the night. I button straddle. There are 2 limpers. The cutoff raises to 50 on my direct right. When I have pocket 8s here, I think this is just a set mine. This is a hand I could defend. I think this is a hand that I should be raising a lot of the time, but I'm not trying to give off the last $50 of profit that I would have if I call. So I call, 2 limpers call, 4 ways to a flop. Give me an 8. I need one. Flop is 10-3 deuce 2 hearts. Pretty decent for me as there's only 1 overcard. It checks to the cutoff, who bets $175. It's so big that I just don't ever think he has jacks or better here. This particular opponent, he's shown some bluffs. He's shown he has the ability to do it. He's playing. He's got a large stack. I think he's just trying to bully people around and get the pot right now.
Don't worry, I know exactly what to do.
I think I can peel one and reevaluate and play in position. So I call, both of the limpers fold. So we're going heads up to a turn card, which is a black 6. The fact that I remain to have only 1 overcard is fantastic for my exact hand, but I still have to reevaluate based on his action. He checks. All right, he's given up, right? He's given up. Like that's the only thing that makes sense. So I assemble a bet of $300, and I think that looks like I'm trying to buy him out. So I actually size it down to 270 as I think it looks more value-y as if I have a hand like Ace 10 or something of that nature. So I bet 270 and he thinks for quite a bit of time. Like, he's going back and forth. He says that he doesn't think he has the right odds to continue, doesn't think that it's going to come. He eventually folds. So that was a fantastic result. He claims that he had Ace X of hearts and just didn't think he had the right price, which I guess it means I was ahead, but I'm glad I got that one through.
How
are you not dead?
I have no idea.
Final hand of note. Against the exact same player, with 3 limps to me, I look down at King Jack offsuit again. Hand I'm going to play in position always, regardless of how much I punted off the last time I played it. I make it $20. Don't need to size up, as I'm not really looking for folds. I'm looking to build a pot and play if I connect. On this particular hand, we go 5 ways to a flop, which comes ace 10 3 rainbow. Not horrible, as I do have a gut shot. When it checks to me, I fear that any ace that has no kicker is going to continue for if I c-bet. So I don't think this is a board where I want to c-bet too often, as plenty of people will limp call ace anything at these 2-5 games. Ace 5 suited, people play that all the time, so not really a board I should continue unless I actually have an ace, and I don't. So I choose to check this one back. There's one player left to act after me, he also checks. So 5 ways to a turn card, which is a 3. It checks to the player from the last hand who's on my direct right, who bets $35. As I've said before, I believe he has the ability to bluff. He's shown it several times. He has bet often when weakness has been given to him, so I don't really give him credit for a hand just yet. I choose to call and hope to hit a queen on the river. Everyone else folds, and we are going heads up to a river, which is another ace. I think king high is actually good here some of the time. So if he checks to me, I'm prepared to just check it back. But he bets $45. That's an interesting bet size, as I don't think he ever has an ace here. I don't think he ever has a 3 here. I think he very often has a 10. Just has middle pair, checked. When everyone checked, he doesn't believe anyone has an ace, and then decided to value bet his 10 on the turn and river. However, whether people believe it or not, I do check back aces sometime. If I had ace king on a board that dry, I would check it back sometimes. Maybe not against 5 people, maybe against 3 or 4, but I do have that within my range. I think that I can credibly rep an ace here and get him off a 10 some of the times.
The time for talking is over. It's time to push buttons.
Kind of the same scenario. I assemble a bet of 150, but then I believe that if I actually had an ace here, which I'm really trying to represent, I wouldn't need to bet so high, as if he has an ace or a 3, he's going to snap call anyway. To make this bluff more believable and cheaper when it gets called, I only make it 120, and my opponent snap folds 3-4. It was funny because he actually laughs in my face. He's like, huh, did you really think I was going to call that? When you say that, I have to show my cards and say, nah, I didn't really think you were going to call it. That made him quiet real quick. Kind of funny. So that was a good finishing hand, as I was into the game for $800, out of the game for $535. I was there for 9 hours, which equates to $59 an hour and nearly 12 big blinds an hour. A little bit less than what I'm used to. I think with the current events that are happening, the poker games are going to get much more difficult, as many people who would come there for some fun, for recreation, are going to just stay home and bunker down, and the people who show up at the games are going to be just the sharks and the people who just love poker so much that they don't care about any risk involved. Well, if you've watched all the way to this point, thank you, I appreciate it. Please consider subscribing, and I will see you next week.